A mirror hangs on the bathroom wall. In it, your face, adorned with the expression. A mirror hangs on the bathroom wall. In it. A mirror hangs on the bathroom wall. In it, the faucet is quite terribly mangled, but you just might be able to twist its parts into place. You handle the chain cutters deftly, applying just enough pressure. The faucet regains a recognizable shape. The steam stops. Told you that you needed those chain cutters. Everything is connected. Everything has a purpose. The mirror begins to clear slowly without you having to wipe it. A mirror hangs on the bathroom wall. It's like the rest of you. It comes from a bad place somewhere in the past. That's all you know for now. A mirror hangs on the bathroom wall. It belongs in the new, the third decade of the current century. Enough time had passed from the failure of the revolution that, for a fleeting moment, free market economy seemed like the ultimate, uncontested way of life for our species. Things were good. It was smooth sailing. People made gold and champagne-tinted interiors and facades to suit the times, calling this the new style. But more importantly, disco happened. Forget about ostentatious orchestrations. For Revachol, your city, that meant only one thing. Guillaume la Million. Out of the dazzling swirl of disco music, in an open-air boîte de nuit, somewhere in Revachol West, Guillaume's blonde mane appeared on the screen. He sang some bullshit. Then he made the expression. Not really. Oh must have just stirred your mind. They're more like a disco rock band anyway. Everyone loved it. Maybe you thought some of the stardust would rub off on you. Maybe it did. Either way, it's all gone now. Only the grimace remains. The click is used to spur on a horse. It also features heavily in Guillaume Le Million's regional mega hit, Don't Worry, Your Pretty Little Head. Sometimes you like to add finger pistols to the mix because, unlike Guillaume Le Million, you are a police officer. It's your nifty little way to say, I'm armed and dangerous. There is a vast ocean of time between right now and the expression, looking good on you, or anyone. 2 decades, if the calendar is to be trusted. Humanity has run aground in that time. It's a different world now. You have some understanding of the near history of disco, plus the trivia you've picked up along the way. Episodic memory, however, remains in the dark. It may never return. You should prepare yourself for that. It doesn't have to be. You can swoon over Guillaume and his champagne-corked smile whenever you want to. Maybe some of the stardust will return. It's too late. Like an image on film. The expression belongs to your primary motor cortex. It would take a minor neurological miracle for you to cease producing it. The fan is spinning. The blades come squeaking to a halt. The switch must be broken because nothing happens. The air in the room is starting to feel like vaporized urine. The switch must be broken. The switch must be broken because the lights are on. The fan stands. The lights are off again. The window stands broken in its front. You see some lights shimmering outside, but it's difficult to make out the outlines of the buildings below. This is not the cleanest bathtub in the world, but it's cleaner than you are right now. Ah, that soap scum smell. It smells like life, at least compared to you. The bathtub slowly fills with water. The water beckons. The water is only lukewarm, but still comforting, like amniotic fluid. A few beer cans are bobbing up and down along your flanks, like sad duckies. The cans continue to bob, as do your thoughts, aimlessly splashing up against the sides of the tub. Your fingers grow pale and are covered with tiny whirls as the water cools. What are you doing? You're not some fat fish in a fucking aquarium. Time. You see the corpse. You can still smell the cadaver on you. It's going to take more. Then, houses along a narrow street. A video rental. Darkness on the planet's curvature. The waterline recedes as you stand. You are cold now. Your clothes stick to your still moist skin. The bed is cold and not particularly inviting, but it's yours. The sheets look awful. The sheets feel at once coarse and clammy against your skin. The bed sags beneath your weight as you stretch out and finally close your eyes. And then sleep doesn't come. And then sleep doesn't come. Maybe it's the bed's fault. It's a little better. Colors, scenes, and half-formed phrases still litter your mind. Part of you is still trying to solve the case, isn't it? Something to do with, what was it that the lieutenant said? Union? And it's gone again. Your thoughts lost between the slowing brain waves. Your breathing steadies. A great silence washes over you until your eyelids twitch in your sleep and images start forming.
Of your childhood. Do you remember your wife's hand on your face? Do you remember the warmth of her thighs between her legs and in her mouth? You know who I am. I'm the bad day. The one where you ask her, and then later in the streets wandering. It's the worst day of all time, Harry dear. And it's coming. She will hear about it on the phone. Reality will turn into a grotesque nightmare. This will be the last thing you did to her. Tell me. Do you remember the love of your life? That's right, funky baby. And you just stood there. One hand on the bottle and the other on your dick. Watching her go. Let it all be dragged away from you. Tell me, where are your friends? Human beings have friends, Harry boy. Where the hell are yours? They were only cramping your descent into the abyss. Now they're gone. 3 times gone and never coming back. All of it. You failed. You failed me. You failed Elysium. Everything. The Pale and the Isolas on the surface. The outer magnetosphere. Burning, furious truth. 8,000 years of written history. You really dropped the ball, Harry. 4.6 billion people, and you failed every single one of them. You really fucked up. No, Harry. You were just talking to yourself. That's all you ever do, even in your dreams. And the act is wearing thin. The spots on the disco ball fade around you. You'll be back in those cold snakeskins in no time, sweating up the bed. Stinky boy. You're not coming back from shit. Thrashing around in that high conductivity state of yours, Bumping into things and acting like a clown? Who are you kidding? Your mind is what now? I can't hear you. The rest is just a word dream. Jumbled up garbage. The pictures are gone. The bed rises to meet you. A thin, sleep-like state. More glass than velvet grinding in your head.
So something is wrong. Sleep shouldn't be this bad, this dry, this unnourishing. There's something wrong with your thoughts. Some kind of new type of hangover. Oh yes, party boy, and it's worse than the one before. Just think of the shit you saw. Here it comes too, so soon already. A silent alarm goes off in your head like clockwork, barely let you sleep at all. Time to get those clothes on, Harry. Time to go to work in the shit factory.
Good going, buddy. Oh, just a dream. You have ones like that all the time. You feel even worse this morning than you did last night. You mean, why are you so tired? Too tired and down to even think? It is worrying, isn't it? You can't be a detective like this. Detectives need to be able to think. It's just that your heart has finally pumped all the speed out of your system, Buster. Time to get some more. Don't do that. Stay strong. The hangover will wear off. You don't need to keep doing this to yourself. Speed is a potent central nervous system stimulant. It kept you propped up all day yesterday, despite your debilitating hangover. How else did you think you even got up from this floor? You got up from this floor because of a holy vow you made 16 years ago. With me. To wake up exactly 7:30 every morning until the day you die. Don't be silly. There was no vow. You were high on speed. That was the only reason you got up. You can't detect without it. It's that simple. Are you sure? Ready to live as this pathetic shell of yourself for days? Basically, a week. Let's be honest, 2 weeks. Maybe 3. You won't make it. Half the town will be dead by then. You will be fired. Suit yourself, slow, sad shell man. See how you do without your spark. The fan stands still. The switch must be broken because the door is closed. Still no.
Morning. I've got some good news. I took care of the body. The thought of him decomposing in my MC wouldn't let me sleep. Well, he's in processing now. We have other matters to attend to.
Oh well, we'll get the armored boots in another lifetime.
The Union muscle finally turned up, and they look rowdy. We need to talk to them. Everything points to the dockworkers' union. The belt used for hanging him, tracks in the mud, the circumstances in Martinez, my preliminary information, which may, of course, all be wrong. But we still need to talk to them, and it won't. I mean ungovernable. Martinez isn't exactly enthusiastic about the RCM being here. They prefer to be policed by the union. These men here, men who drink beer for breakfast? There's talk of an armed wing of the union called the Hardy Boys, who are responsible for state policing. I think it's them. I completely forgot. Sorry, I had a rough night's sleep. It's them by the looks of it. Loud and nasty, just like the manager said. One loose thread less to worry about, and one big problem to replace it. That would just escalate tensions. No captain would sign off on it. Solving one murder isn't worth a conflict between the RCM and the Debarders Union. In fact, even the death of 2 detectives might not warrant an all-out war. So let's keep a cool head, okay? One more thing before we do. We don't have to talk to them immediately. We can walk right past them, continue with our business.
Yeah, streetwise. Zoom right past. Do it on your own terms.
They're in no hurry to leave. They think they own the place. Anyway, I leave that choice to you.
Can I help you?
Just a moment.
She's agitated, judging from the way she keeps pulling at the frayed edge of her blanket.
And there's no public phones nearby?
The closest phone booth is down the coast. Sorry for the inconvenience, ma'am.
It's fine, I understand. Thank you anyway. I'm glad to see you again, dear. Please don't trouble yourself about me, sweetie. I was just hoping to make a call, but the Whirling's phone line isn't working. The union office probably has a phone, but I can't really get there. Or to the phone booth down the coast. And Gary's phone is dead too. The manager was vague about it.
Why would he be vague about phone problems? This is something to look into later.
To let the young woman who's house-sitting for us know that we may be delayed. Morel, my husband, and Gary were supposed to get back by Monday night, but they're still missing, and I haven't heard from them. I was also hoping she'd heard from Morel. That's just it. This isn't like him at all. He always plans his expeditions so carefully. But you have more important things to worry about. Just some field work, sweetie. Morel is a highly trained scientist. He and his assistant Gary are studying an extremely rare species of insect. But they should have returned by now. They were just going down the coast across the water lock to set a few traps. He said they'd be back on Monday.
The water lock, that was broken. Could this be it?
Oh, sweetie, it's nothing like that. Gary's as loyal as they come. I trust him with my husband's life. Oh my, what happened to the water lock? Well, whatever the cause, I'm thankful. To both of you. You've spared me another sleepless night.
You're welcome, ma'am.
I hate to ask, but if your investigation takes you to the other side of the coast, please do keep an eye out for my husband. And if you see him, let him know Lena is waiting for him here at the Whirling. He gets so tangled up in his work that he may not know the water lock's been repaired. And it's cold out there. Oh, you're such a dear. Thank you, sweetie. Oh, yes. a zoologist. A cryptozoologist, to be more precise.
It's a pseudoscience that attempts to legitimize research into mythological beasts and urban legends.
That's one opinion, yes.
She's used to playing off such insults casually.
My apologies, ma'am. I didn't.
It's not a hobby, dear. It's a subfield of zoology, one specializing in animal species. Searching for such species called cryptids is difficult and often thankless, and frankly, many scientists are too lazy to do it. Universities these days are rarely interested in supporting real research. Oh dear, I'm not sure where to begin. Well, his expression is slightly grumpy, but his eyes are always bright and curious, like a small boy's. And his palms are quite coarse from all the field work, but he's quite gentle. Oh, well, he's a bit shorter than you, but with a larger frame, and he has longish white hair, usually a bit uncombed. You might say wild, even.
The lieutenant pulls out his notebook.
One other thing, he'll likely have all kinds of field gear on him, even if he's not out in the reeds, you know, just in case. We'll be celebrating our 16th anniversary this autumn. Not the most numerically satisfying anniversary, but via dating agency, I'm ashamed to say. I was looking to get back into the sea. We hit it off, and
She's skipping over some important parts. Perhaps you'll find out more later.
I hope I've been useful. Oh, sweetie, it's fascinating, but I shouldn't bore you.
The lieutenant gives you a sideways glance.
Well, it's where other phasmids imitate sticks or leaves. This one's a living reed. It disguises itself among the reeds here on the hence it's named the Insulindian phasmid. Perhaps you'll end up co-discovering the phasmid with us off.
I knew it. We're gonna be chasing made-up.
It's not made up, officer. It's simply elusive, so much so that most establishment well, some teenagers making out in the reeds saw one. They didn't know what it was, of course, but there was a brief article in a local newspaper about their encounter with a ghost. Of course, most phasmid sightings turn out to be false alarms, but their description matched the Insulindian phasmid perfectly, and they didn't even know what they were looking at.
Enthusiasm has wiped the worry from her face. Her eyes sparkle behind.
I suppose I have something of a personal connection to the Insulindian phasmid. All scientists have their little hobby horses. Not at all. Why else would it hide itself so carefully? Oh, I doubt it. No one gets into cryptozoology for the money, sweetie. Yes, it can blend in almost perfectly among the reeds. It's how it's stayed hidden all these years, centuries even.
That's not special at all. Of course it blends in. Most insects do. You don't even have to be a stick insect for that.
Oh dear. I'm afraid I'm not explaining this very well. It is very special. Morel can explain it all much better. I wish you could hear him describe it. Then you'd understand, I'm sure.
You're an enthusiastic idiot, but you're still an idiot.
We don't have time for Cryptozoology 101. Let's get back to work, shall we?
Mazovian Socioeconomics. 0.0000% of communism has been built. Evil, child-murdering billionaires still rule the world with a shit-eating grin. All he has managed to do is make himself sad. He is starting to suspect Krasmezov fucked him over, personally, with his socio-economic theory. It has, however, made him into a very smart boy with something like a university degree in truth. Instead of building communism, he now builds a precise model of this grotesque, duplicitous world.
Let me handle this.
You seem a little different today. Less hospitable.
You are far from home, Lieutenant. This isn't a district known for its love of self-proclaimed militiamen.
Not a muscle moves in her face, but her eyes trace yours, stern and perceptive.
You are looking for Titus Hardy, who you think has information on a murder the RCM is investigating. You want to interview him. That's Titus. Talk to him, but know this. I'll be keeping an eye on you. No strong arming, nothing official. The District of Martinez does not recognize your authority to make arrests.
It doesn't matter if you recognize our authority. We will make an arrest if we have to.
She says nothing. Her glare speaks for her.
What you want is of no significance, officer. Don't test your authority. In Martinez, you are no one. Aggressive, you make your living enforcing violence. These people are just dock workers.
So you were spying on us, and now you represent murder suspects. Just dock workers.
Listen, you moral intern lackeys. You're a mob, enforcing the unlawful privatization of Revachol. 20 fat men in the Occident are stealing it all, and you're their bodyguards.
Fuck yeah.
So ask what you came to ask, or get back to your commanders. Look, a comedian. Do your job. Ask your questions.
Strange. It's as if people don't believe a cop could be a socialist revolutionary.
Obviously, I'm a lawyer, a legal counselor for the Dock Workers Union. I would urge you to consider what you say to my clients.
markers, a ceiling height window. The hawthorn branches scrape the glass like bony fingers. There's a little slide panel up there to let some air in. No need to open it in spring. It's still too cold outside.
What do you see?
Necromancer pig? That shit was dark. Kuno dies. You're gonna pick one out of his brain like Kuno doesn't fucking care?
This is where you say you're a bit.
He and his men carry themselves like giants. You'll need to prove your...
Detective.
Oh, this is about him. A real looker, that one.
You sure took your time, huh? Waited for him to get real ripe and pretty for you.
Oh, he was a real pretty boy. Hanging up there, letting out that pretty boy smell.
I can't for the life of me understand why you did it. I mean, I would have just left him up there. You must really like cleaning up other people's shit.
You might want to start asking your questions now. It's not going to get better than this.
Do a head count first. Connect these men to the tracks you saw in the yard. Chances are they're going to match. Starting from the right, boot size 44, blonde man, in his 30s, overbearingly masculine. Wants the world to know he's a macho man. Tobacco chewing and knuckle cracking. Who else do we have here? Sitting on his right, standard working boots, size 45 or 46, eldest in the room, probably mid-50s, smoker, quiet. Across at the other table, hobnailed working boots, size 43, gang tattoos, Mesk or Sarah Mauritian in his late 30s, early 40s, and then standard working boot, steel reinforced toes, size 46, the big dick, wide at the shoulders and lean at the hips, rugby cap, fingerless gloves, and numerous scars, a little under 40. The emblem on his vest says Rowing Club. A little patch below it reads T. Hardy, Captain. In the far corner, standard working boot, steel reinforced toes, size 44, 40-something, non-alcoholic beverage in hand. You squint. Is that a plectrum? On his neck. Forget it. It's not important. Let's call this one the musician. Size 41, with the light step. Not a child, after all. An older man with a rat face, mean, watery eyes, and 2 front teeth missing. In the middle, heaving and wheezing. Big guy, boot size 46, deep marks, probably carried the victim over. He alone is 130 kilos. Add the man in armor, and you could easily exceed 220. In conclusion, these 7 are the actors on the crime scene. The footprints were theirs, but there's a discrepancy. Exactly. You've stood there for about 4 seconds, not saying anything. Hit them with questions. Where's the 8th Hardy?
The fuck is with you, fella? What are you talking about, madman? There's no 8th Hardy Boy. There's 7 of us and we're all here. Or what? You want to be the 8th Hardy Boy? We ain't hiring.
Actually, boss, we've been talking and we think she could maybe...
She? So there's an 8th Hardy, and it's a Hardy girl? Who might it be? Elizabeth? The gardener?
Shut the fuck up, Glenn! I do the talking here.
So let me get this straight. There is an 8th Hardy Boy. It's a she, and you don't like us talking about her?
That's right. We're not talking about this. This is a private Hardy Boys matter. Nothing to do with your shit. End. You're not cops here. Don't go digging around if you don't want a bullet in the back of your head. I'm watching you.
Good. We are all watching each other. Officer, your question.
The pretty boy. You guys real.
Funny. But my partner and I have a serious matter to discuss with you.
You mean these boots? We all got a pair. We wore them the night we took the pretty boy out back and hung him by the neck. Yeah. We did this. Together. All of us. Until he was dead. That's why our prints are all over the scene.
There's a catch hidden somewhere. He didn't confess so that you could take them all away. It's too simple.
There is no catch. These 7 honest men have all equally come forth to tell you what happened, so that you don't waste any more of your time.
Huh?
There was a bullet in the dead man's brain. Why was it there if you hanged him?
How the fuck do I know? Anyone could have shot him. Target practice, maybe.
This line of questioning is over. You got the cause of death already? Hanging. If there's any post-mortem trauma, it's your problem. This will not turn into a cross-examination.
We hanged him up by his neck. Until it...
Didn't they teach you anything?
The autopsy showed there were no ligature marks. His hands were not tied.
The lieutenant goes in for the leg sweep. Tight.
we... Look. I'm not gonna play 20 questions with you, capo. I'll say it again.
Yeah, I knocked him out. Came up behind him and clubbed him in the back of the head. He went down.
That's right, lawman. And then we hanged the fuck.
My fucking elbow, copper. Samaran boxing style. Right fucking here. The fucker started coming to our bar, asking for it.
Titus is solid as a rock, and so are a few others. But... Elaine, who looks like he might be Titus's right-hand man, the least antsy of the bunch. Definitely not his first time. This little rat-faced fellow is solid, too. Always for him neither. Mostly keeps to his tomato juice, or whatever he's got.
No.
Of course he's having trouble breathing. Just look at how fucking fat he is.
Fuck off, Shanky. Angus is a powerful guy.
Keep your eye on this powerful guy. Sooner or later, he's going to break like a piece of twig.
And fuck you, too, copper. Picking on Angus like this. We're done with this schoolyard.
This one is a stone wall. You won't get more out of them about the night of the murder. Not yet.
Like what, copper? How many people have you sent to the Shays? Ever felt remorse for them?
Or send them to Reunion to rot. For 20 years. For life.
Doesn't remember them. He just forgets.
Ain't no use keeping a stiff catalog in your head. That's for sure.
Are you deaf? There will be no singling anyone out. You can't arrest a. Do you think you could do that? Do you think you could arrest them all? That's for the courts in Les Jardins to decide. Not for the. What you can do right now is go back to your.
No. We'll stay here and discuss what happened that night.
You don't have to keep answering his.
I know, Lizzie. Relax. We killed him last Sunday night. Seemed like a good way to end the week.
Known him? We don't associate with scum like that, asshole.
Yeah. Who do you think we are?
Quiet. He came around about 3 weeks ago when that Pines cow first sailed into town. Happy?
By the Pines cow, you mean the representative for Wild Pines? The ship?
No. I mean the Pines cow. The stupid-ass cow they sent in to fuck us over. But you... Why don't you ask her about the pretty boy? I'm sure she has interest in things.
That's enough insinuation for today, Titus. Officer, your interview is drawing to an end. Don't waste your last...
Why? 'Cause he was worthless mercenary scum. And he stepped out alive in my town. And he stepped out alive.
What kind of mercenary?
The kind that shows up when you start a strike. The experienced kind, too. Had Cohoy and Seminine written all over him.
A live grenade, right here in our bar.
I can't prove it, but I know he was sent by the Wild Pines. They hire merc shit like that. Story of every strike from here to Samara.
'Cause one night, he walked straight up to the mic and said, I'm RNE's goddamn special forces, and I'm gonna fuck you all.
Really?
Yeah, really. Had a gin and tonic up there, sang some RNE's paratrooper song, and said he's gonna fuck everyone.
We couldn't believe it either, but he fucking did, right there.
Wrong. He harassed women, raped one, harassed workers, threatened to kill some as a warning. To kill us all if we don't open the gates, if we don't let the scabs in, if we don't bend over.
Yeah, he said it was his favorite joint now. Started to come in here every night. Drinking, grabbing girls. Grabbed one of ours mid-karaoke, right there on the stage.
He grabbed someone?
Yeah. This girl's on the mic. A beautiful girl, young. Gets into the second verse of Lover Lake. The fucker grabs her legs, starts screaming.
Show me your cunt. Why don't you show me your cunt? Then, he gets knocked on the head with a wine bottle, doesn't even fall down.
Aren't you fucking listening? My man is talking to you. He took care of it. They got the girl out before anything else could happen.
Yeah, me and Eugene got her out. Aren't you fucking listening?
No. You're not getting the name. That's a Martinez matter. And I'm not discussing it with you clowns. Yeah, lawman. Why don't you?
Not in the arresting mood?
By your side, the lieutenant keeps his hand away from his holster. You hear the nylon of his coat hiss as he steps closer. While the little rat-faced man reaches into his sleeve, there's a knife in there. Some of the others reach for their belts. Their eyes are light.
Wise move. You made the right choice there.
Nothing. Your investigation here is done. Leave Martinez, go back to your stations where you belong.
I think we're going to stick around, thanks. Some things don't add up here, Titus. I've done this job for long enough to know that people don't just confess to first-degree murder, even if it is a group responsibility.
Good luck with that. You've heard everything a rent-a-cop is gonna hear from us, real law officials. You're lucky you didn't get a beating. You still on about that bullet? A bullet in a hangman's head. You're right, Copper.
Indeed. Mighty. How did you...
Well, there are so many bullets in the world, and so many heads. I guess it's only logical. At some point, one of them bullets had to end up in one of them heads.
It's bound to happen again, you know? Just statistically speaking, of course.
Wow! He's got it in a real evidence bag and all!
Why don't you go home and log it into evidence?
You know what I think? I think he was shot in the head as a kid. And his brain grew around the bullet.
Around the bullet, man. That's a good one.
Shit! I probably did shoot him. I was drunk last night. You guys know me when I'm drunk.
Yeah, Glenn likes to shoot his guns when he's drunk. Better hope he stays sober.
No, he meant before he was hanged. Did you shoot him before you hanged him?
Before? After? During? This is getting ridiculous. They told you...
Never been worried in my life, lawman.
It's the ledger oh, and the cool piece of toilet paper is stuck to the back.
Yes?
Looking for something odd?
A lorry stuck in the windows are clear. Fumes of heavy fuel oil waft over. The woman still has her eyes fixed on the photograph. In no response. Wherever this woman is.
Right to work! Right to...
Hola, Wandering Man. How can I help you? Los Ardis? They're an independent militant group. A bit too high-strung, but it comes with the responsibility. They're sort of like you. Preserve the rule of law and all that. Except it's Everard's law. But really, they're just like you.
Your race descent has only worsened since I last saw you. I am not the first line of defense. I am the last. In addition, these so-called Hardy boys are an effeminate clique of bodybuilders. Their company is spiritually degrading. The Hardy manlets are on the pay of the company. I answer to the Union alone. And I do this out of race heroism. Finance is an alien concept to the Seminoles. Now leave me be. I must luxuriate in the company of my woman.
payphone hangs mutely on the wall. Before the cargo container. Its drawer has not lessened since you were last here. If anything, it seems to have grown slightly. Despite the dirt that surrounds and trails you, a beacon of light emerges from deep within you. The door stands silent.
Satisfied, detective?
Try again. Just like that, you hear a click, then a rattle. Some mechanism unlocks itself inside the door.
Ahoy! Come on in!
You can't be serious.
The man stands at the far end of the shipping container. It's hard to say anything more about him. You cannot make out any of his details, but you do feel the overwhelming presence of capital. The feeling causes all the hairs on your body to stand at attention, like soldiers preparing for review. Something's amiss. The light beams bend around his face and scatter in 1,000 directions. It seems the laws of physics do not. Trying to visualize the physics at play is liable to give you an aneurysm. Don't think about it too hard. In the general stillness, only your tongue moves, flickering as you utter.
Welcome. Come in. Make yourself at home. Sorry, I'm not better able.
You can't hear him exactly, yet you're able to understand every.
Now, what can I do for you, gentlemen? Who am I? Oh, I haven't anyhow. My name is Rustam Diodore, investor, license holder, and extremely...
Mr. Diodore, I am Lieutenant Kim Kitsuragi of the RCM, and this is my partner.
Pleasure to meet you, Harry. Public service is a noble cause. Traveling. This is a great way to get around. By the way, let me now ask you a question. Where are we exactly? Ah, interesting. I've made quite a few real estate. It's a shame I can't get out and explore myself. One of the downsides of being an extremely high net worth individual is that mobs of low net worth individuals are constantly banding together to ask for money. There simply aren't enough hours a day to hand out all the handouts. It's like feeding seagulls. There are always more, and spending money is a matter of desire. I'm sure you agree. Smart, no? It also provides a means to hide from all the targeted advertising we extremely high net worth individuals, luxury yachts, high fidelity portable radio systems, fail-proof outerwear, and so on. It just don't get me wrong. They're nice things, but once you achieve a certain level of wealth, your time and mental space become much more important than material goods. Go right ahead.
I don't see how it's appropriate.
Come now. There is not even a cent of corruption here. I'm merely, as you may know, us high net worth individuals do not have a lot of cash on hand. Investments and liquidity, here is 3 real. How much can you get for this? You're welcome. You know, maybe you can make that money grow. Come up with an investment plan. How's that sound?
If business planning were really your strong suit, you probably wouldn't be a cop.
He should what?
The volunteer police force. And why would I do that? I don't believe in handouts. It's still, the idea of a privatized police force is extreme. Tell me, if you could invest in the RCM...
The latest technological wonders.
The RCM's problems aren't the kind you can solve with radio computer.
If I could interject, the RCM's problems are mainly structural. We are hamstrung by a lack of clear lines of authority, and our system of performance reviews strongly disincentivizes interpreting
I think the lieutenant's right. Your problems run much deeper than equipment or funding. The entire org structure of the RCM...
Yes. That's precisely what we need.
Hell no! Can you imagine how much work that would take? Why would I do that when I can just speculate on exotic find? The thing about investing is that the less work you have to do, the better. Don't overthink. That's what...
The lieutenant's disappointment is palpable.
Now, was there anything else I could help you gentlemen with? To be perfectly blunt, I inherited my fortune from my grandmother, who herself was an extremely high net worth individual. All I did was take her fortune and invest it prudently. Believe it or not, it takes more than a bit of skill not to blow a vast fortune on sailing boats, bad choices, and I gotta tell you, at first, being rich is a lot of work. You've got to work hard because everything's so darn expensive. You know, prices increase, but then once you've reached my position, it's nearly impossible for me not to make money. My assets are so diversified that some of my lower net worth friends say to me, but doesn't that take all the fun out of it? And I tell them, not really. Sure, and they benefit when I buy things to stimulate the economy. Do you know how many jobs it takes to build and maintain a racing yacht? Dozens, at least. Of course, in the future, it'll all be automated. But my point is this. Every man gets what he earns. It's the height of tyranny to take that from him. It is truly a...
Hey, all this talk about money has made you lose the thread. What is going on with the light in this place? That's what you need to ask him about.
What do you mean? Are you talking about my chin? Oh, That's what you mean. Yes, I've heard of this effect, though I've never witnessed it myself, of course. It has something to do with our Weiss-Wiesemann coefficient. It's some statistical thing. In essence, it says that when an extremely low net worth individual meets an extremely high net worth individual, some among other things. But calm down. I'm but a lowly single-digit billionaire. No, not really. There are actually quite many digits.
I see nothing of the sort. To be frank, all I see is a gentleman who's unusually well dressed for Martinez, in a cargo container, which I had...
Yes, I imagine that does look strange to you. My container. It was a real pleasure. Sadly though, my current lifestyle prevents me from farewell, friend.
Hey, mister. I knew you'd be back. No trouble at all, mister. Oh, yes, yes. I leave all kinds of notes for myself. That old head of mine ain't so good at keeping things in no more. I almost forgot about the borscht. Oh, yes. I've been taking special whirling borscht to the men every day since the strike started. It's very, very good. Makes a man feel so warm and happy. I feel like I could take on Mr. Renadan's boar dogs every time the lunch is done. Yes, yes. I'm taking it to them. The borscht keeps them happy and in fighting spirits. Makes you all warm inside. They brew it in the whirling in rags. Oh, the whirling's cook. He makes it. Them is always talking with Mr. Manana in that weird language and laughing together. He doesn't speak what we speak. He's from Grad. Oh, sure, mister. Sure. You do that, yes?
He didn't actually understand what you meant. And now he's just...
Mr. Dubois, a pleasure as always. You don't have to sit down this time, since you've already sat on that chair. Mega rich light-bending guy? Oh my god, how did that get in there? Damn it to hell, Harry. I specifically told my guys to check all the containers for mega-rich light-bending guys.
There was a guy in the container, but he didn't bend in.
Honestly, guys, we might be moving all kinds of suspicious things through this harbor, but I won't be caught transporting the light-bending mega-rich. I have a reputation to protect. You're right, Harry. I am a socialist. I'm going to catch the mega-rich guy inside the container and harvest his energy to power the harbor's fog lights. I shudder to think what you're going to tell me next, Harry. I'm very glad to hear that, Harry. One question. You didn't actually happen to stumble in and see what's inside the apartment, did you? You're right, Harry. You only had to unlock the door, which you did. So we're all good here. Now let's get down to brass tacks. It's time for men like me and you to figure out who's killed who and why. Real police work is gonna start happening now. I promise you, Harry, this is gonna be good. By now, I'm sure you've figured out who the dead man was working for. The bad guys. Wild Pines. Sent to scare us. And Harry, this strike is the culmination of many, many mistakes made by the Wild Pines group. They tried to shut the strike down by sending in armed mercenaries.
You mean our victim?
A security contractor? Can you imagine that? Workers standing in peaceful protest, united in the spirit of fellowship, and they send
He performs a motion as if spraying.
I'm talking beasts. Hardened killers from proxy wars in Yisut, Semenine, Saramaritsa, you name it, they've done it. Raping, killing, burning villages, killing little children. Everything they did there, they brought over here. They want to turn Revachol into a third world slum. Honestly, the only thing they didn't do is kill the village elephant. No, Harry, the elephant is metaphorical, and so is the village, but the mercs... Now, I haven't personally witnessed the brutalities out there. I have the luxury of staying in my container, you see. If I need to go somewhere, they just move my container. Yes, I'm an old man, Harry. My legs aren't what they used to be. They lift my office with that big crane. It's actually very fun. You should try it. But enough about me and my fun container. The killers the company hired, I think there were 3 of them. One of them got downright suicidal. Getting drunk, violent, a little rapey. Even their own negotiator couldn't control him. That's your boy, the one who likes hanging out and trees.
What makes you think the Wild Pines negotiator can't control them?
Harry, what you need to realize is, we dock workers are not pushovers. We got grit, Harry. This whole neighborhood does. Push us hard enough and we push back. And when we do, we push to kill. Potentially, Harry, potentially. We got arm wrestling champions, rowing club people, ex-coal miners, tough guys. There's a militant wing inside the Union. A group of people whose duties don't involve manual labor, but peacekeeping in the neighborhood. Making they're like you guys. Idealistic people who want to make sure bad things don't happen.
So these idealists...
One day Titus Hardy, leader of this peacekeeping faction, comes up to me and says, "Boss, socialist democratic fervor drove us to take it upon ourselves to kill this beast that was burdening the land." He probably worded it differently, but that was the idea. Sure sounded to me like they killed him. I gave them 2 weeks paid leave and told them to lay low to avoid retaliation.
Aren't you worried we might arrest them for this?
Oh, I'm not at all worried about that. These are not the kind of men who get arrested. They're Martinez boys, tough and gritty. I'd like to see the man who takes them in. Besides, I sent my lawyer girl to look after them. So they shot him?
He was shot in the head.
How odd. I don't know what to say, Lieutenant. They told me they hanged him. Hanged him. What I do know is, the case is in safe hands. If anyone can get to the bottom of this shot and hanged man, it's my two little policemen. Godspeed, policeman. How do I know? Let me tell you about these people. That's their MO. Last winter, some poor workers in Terminal E went on a little strike. The company sent in Sediment, a security contractor. The strike was over the workers' right to wear protective footwear, Harry. These guys turn up and start beating people. Tell you what, Harry, I wouldn't be surprised if we got the same mercenary company after a little rebranding. And I'm sure as hell not surprised.
So you believe the scabs were organized?
You said it. Hell, one of those guys looks big enough to take down that proverbial elephant. Boys like that don't just happen.
That does sound quite unlikely, yes. The big guy leading the scabs at the gate is...
Oh, Liz is a bright one. I paid for that law degree myself, thinking it'll probably turn her all fancy. But hell, Harry, she came back a firebrand socialist. Sometimes she scares me with her zeal. Oh, they are simply fine young men, all 7 of them. Exemplary union members. Always working to advance their position in the local socialist Old Theo used to run them, but things really kicked into gear when Titus took the reins and named the group after himself. Gotta love his initiative.
Interesting. Who's second in command?
They're almost all of them great guys, born leaders. Whatever happened, I'm sure they only had the best. Work with them. Hell, interview them. But don't fight them. They really are just like you. Men who like beer, women, and some order on the streets. But of course, it's the least I can do for my good friend Harry. I'll do it right after we've concluded this talk.
You can now go and tell Titus about this.
Also, Harry, here's 5 real.
The lieutenant watches you pocket the banknote.
Good boy. A real team player. Now, do you have any more questions? Was it a good talk? I'm not sure we made much headway here. I was hoping we'd bust the case wide open. Heck, I even wanted to tell you what I really want to achieve with this. I don't know what happened, Harry. I wanted you to feel like Mr. Martinez. And of course, I also wanted you to find your gun. But it's like I can't completely trust you. Yet. Yes, Harry. It's like I can't fully trust you if you're not a man of the left. I want to, but I just can't.
A man of the left, so you have to be a social democrat.
Just between us, I don't care for those lefty dinks either. It's all about power, and here's how we're gonna get it. I need you to be my kingsman, Harry.
And what would this entail?
Once again, I require nothing unethical or illegal of you. You just need to get 2 little signatures on this piece of paper, and then mail it to my accountant in La Delta.
It depends. I don't think what we just got from Mr. Clare was very useful.
As I said, it weighs on me heavily. But once we get really talking, well, I'm gonna hand you the keys to Martinez, and maybe even help you figure out who's behind this killing. I'm glad you asked, Harry. The Union is going to build a modern youth center in Martinez. It will be righteous. We're gonna get those teenagers off drugs and on roller skates. There's a nameless little street on the coast with some old houses around it. Most people have already signed. I just need 2 more signatures. On the coast, Harry, across the canal. There's a cul-de-sac there, a little village they're called.
You're already pretty deep into this. What's a little more? No one can see you.
They are just gonna have to deal with the construction noise for 6 months, and then they'll be living like kings. Right next to a fancy new youth centre, designed by the best architects from Stella Marie. You bring joy to my heart, Harry. Such a pleasure to be working with you. You need to get signatures from Isabel Sadie and Lillian Carter. The cul-de-sac is right past the pawn shop and across the canal. I hear there is some trouble with the waterlock. But once you have the signatures, mail this to 13022 La Rocca in La Delta. Then I'll know you're a real Kingsman and a patriot. Most certainly, Harry. By all means, Harry. I don't know what that means, Harry. Shady brew? There are... You know what? Don't even tell me. Whatever it is, do it. Surprise me.
He sincerely has no idea what you were talking about. And clear you like the hard stuff, Rota. Lower intestine? The term is fascism, Rota. Many things, but it's mostly about trusting your gut. Who does your gut tell you is the source of Revershaw's problems? Yes, them. Women. Women. Men of war. You don't like them. They're insane. Their idiocy needs to be scrubbed off this world. That's what fascism boils down to. The rest is also important. But the main thing is that women need stomach truth. You're having a stomach truth because you've said the hard things that others won't say. The good things, you've said them many times. Okay, yes, let's call it that. Good think. You're going to keep your vooz, right? Keep your vooz, Brota. There's a slow, painful growl somewhere in your... It is one of betrayal and... The bullet is safely sealed away in a plastic bag bearing the RCM stamp. The squashed bullet has some sharp edges.
What? Well, if I was the bullet, which I'm not, I would say if we find who owns it, we will have in conclusion. The more we know about...
The jacket of the bullet is made of a yellowish metal. It has blossomed out to reveal a dark grey core. You can just about make out a few striations near the base of the bullet. It's quite destroyed. Some of the fragments are still lodged.
What can you say about the bullet so far? A jacketed bullet. Okay. It would have been shot from a military-grade breech-loading rifle, not from a muzzleloader. Even the RCM uses ordinary unjacketed conical bullets. This is strange. Very strange. I like this, officer. Strange means unique. Unique means incriminating. We need to find the gun that shot it.
A rifle, Revolutionary period. Your bullet looks to be an old 4.46mm from the surplus left over from the turn of the century. The 4.46 caliber was widely used with the Belmargrave rifle, a Revacholian manufacturer. The BM dominated the battle. No, but Zeliger, a major firearm manufacturer, ended up with a surplus after the war. So there are still a lot of these old military antiques enthusiasts, guerrilla fighters in distant countries.
What are you thinking? Bullet? Okay. And? An antique. That makes sense. There can't be many breech-loading rifles floating around in Martinez or anywhere in Ravachol. Sure, there's some arms trafficking, but the laws prohibiting the use of breech loaders we inherited from the monarchy. Some new RCM recruits get impatient with their muzzle loaders once they've trained with military-grade weapons, but they realize it's worth it in the end. Imagine if everyone, cops, citizens, had access to firearms that could shoot multiple rounds without pausing to reload after the first shot. But back to the investigation. Doesn't seem that likely, but we'll check out all possible leads. Next step, finding the gun itself. Okay, an antique. That makes sense. I have to hand it to the monarchs. It's quite admirable that they took the advice of criminologists last century. Some new RCM recruits get impatient with their muzzle loaders once they've trained with military-grade weapons, but they realize it's worth it in the end. Imagine if everyone, cops, but back to the investigation. Mysterious. Okay.
An intricate web of blue light. It almost looks like the electronic patterns inside a radio computer or an old filament memory. Gone. For you to discover. You've gotten as far as you will without assistance. You take the legal documents out of the envelope. A 12 to 40 month construction period, and the youth center cuts into the ocean like the bow of some great modern ship. Apparently, it's going to cover most, if not all, of the street and the square between the existing houses. It's going to be awfully close to the already existing buildings, almost wall to wall. This is either an ominous or cool architectural choice. Hard to say. There is no loophole. The simple truth is, the current residents are going to lose their street access, and for the next 12 to 40 months, their lives will be dominated by constant construction noise right next door. Once the construction starts, it'll probably take a few months, a year maybe, for even the most stubborn occupants to get tired of living like this. After that, they'll sell their property for cheap and move out.
I should have seen it. Evrard probably has eyes on us, but we could try to get other people to sign this instead of those listed. Or you could forge their signatures yourself. However, we'll need access to the coast before we do anything. Evrard